Incremental routines. I want to share with you something very important, extremely important, and it's about the relationship of perfectionism and SuperMemo. I'm seeing in Discord, in the Discord community and other places with SuperMemo users, that they really trigger their perfectionism, and that bad habit is what they cause giving up the software. They stop using SuperMemo because they build a lot of friction. Because they spend all the time is, oh, let me change the color of this, or this is not involved, or I want this to be in a different color, let me highlight this, and so on, right? Not just for articles that are actually temporary, but for items as well. Or, yeah, no, I want to always start with a capital letter. Now here it's missing a point and so on, right? You get my point, no pun intended. Perfectionism actually is a bad habit. I know people close to me that perceive perfectionism as a good personality trait, something positive, when it's exactly the opposite. It goes against you. It's not something that perhaps is kind of OCD, that it's pushing you, the anxiety and so on, you really need to do it because it's pathological. Perhaps that perfectionism is more broad and it's not pathological. It's just one bad habit you acquired at school. I am guilty of that. Not with SuperMemo, luckily, but with Anki. I was spending literally hours customizing the templates. Oh, now I can make this corner more round. Oh, I can make a degradation of the color, So I was super specifying the templates. Let me use one template for irregular verbs, but when I ask the infinitive to the past simple or participle, or when I ask the other direction, let me change the layout, how it looks, the color, the degradation will be fading in the opposite direction, so many stuff. What happened that all of this time that I could have spent actually learning English, I was wasting it for just colors and like that, right? Being a perfectionist. But what happens with SuperMemo, that the tool is kind of limited. Let me do the example here. I have this styling on silent. Space, Oh, I'm still using the same styling. Let me go here. Let me do that. Oh, it's not working. Now I need to press as last resort. Let me go here. Let me delete the styling and so on. And I do this repetition after repetition and after repetition. So therefore, what will happen is that most of my experience with SuperMemo will be something tedious, something negative, something boring to do. I'm just doing data entry and changing the content, but the information remains the same. And what saddens me is that this is one big factor that people ends up giving up SuperMemo. Not because it's SuperMemo in particular, but it will be incremental reading, what they are giving up. And as you may have noticed, I covered that on a video. Well, I also shot another video already, that I transitioned to plain text. Now, there's no issue. That is because it's a topic, I can do that. But if it is an item, that's it. Plain text. End of question. I don't lose time with that. Now the golden question is, how do you get rid of the bad habit of perfectionism? That's a really good question. I don't have one specific answer. But what worked for me, my goal is I have to learn how to not care at all. Or in more plain language, how to not give a shit about this and that. And in my case, I needed close to, 2011, 11 years. Something like that, because it's not yes or no. It comes with shades of gray. You are degrading your perfectionisms. Your degree of perfectionism decreases. It's not that it's gone. So what I suggest is to get in this website. I'm assuming most of the people who watch this video will be familiar with SuperMemo Guru. It's from the same author of SuperMemo, Piotr Wozniak. And here you have plenty of material about toxic memories, how actually learning is, it should be free, coercion free, and how many bad habits are acquired in a school. It's now more than 100 already. And here you go. Worship of perfect models. They all have the same dominant factor, perfectionism. So actually, with time, I want to help people with that. So it's not just how to use SuperMemo or how to introduce you to free learning, speed repetition, incremental reading. It's how people can become aware of their bad habits. That's already something incredible. And second, how to actually get rid of those bad habits and acquire new good habits, especially when your surroundings, your environment will be blatantly against that. You have to face peer pressure, the lack of understanding for your loved ones, family, friends, and so on. At least, I speak in my case, I know that I'm generalizing, but most of the people will be in that position. They will discover free learning on adulthood or when they are teenagers, but they are alone. Get into the Discord servers on communities. I know no one like me or that uses SuperMemo or that uses free learning. Never in my life I met someone physically. So three people I know are from the internet. So if you're like me, get on the internet. I haven't had this privilege when I was younger because I haven't had access to the internet at home. So that's already golden. I will have. So if I could imagine if I had access to the internet and a small degree of English proficiency back then, my life would be dramatically different today. I would have struggled that many for many years and so on, right? So take this opportunity. Don't take that, I'm alone. No one can help me. There's people who can help you and that are like you. Because this perfectionism is like an epidemic. It's very hard to see people who went into college, university, and PhDs and so on. I then don't have a degree of a bad habit of perfectionism at some degree. And on top of that, the people I know that at some point they were guilty of that bad habit, but they removed that bad habit. It's a really big deal. It's like the final boss in a video game, because it's like an umbrella. You have so many staff that it's on top of this, or layers on layers, that you need to get rid of those layers before you can actually cover the perfectionism. Well, I'm getting excited. So the key, again, a buzzword, is incrementalism. You won't change. So it doesn't happen overnight that you wake up and, now I notice that my perfectionism, it's part of the past already. That's not going to happen. But going back to SuperMemo, what may happen is that if you have this bad habit of perfectionism, SuperMemo will put the finger on the eye every time. It will trigger your perfectionism. It could be that often that it could trigger your perfectionism at every single repetition you do. So that will become a torture. Literally speaking, a torture. So what happens? I know people who delete their collection in months or even less than a month, in weeks, because it becomes overwhelming source of pain and anxiety. You feel really bad because everything is different of what you may want. It's not perfect. But what is the definition of perfect? Because that's something subjective. Now my definition of perfect would be just plain text. All the same thing. Your definition would be capital letters or a space, no bolding or whatever. So everyone has a different criteria of what they like and what they consider to be perfect. But we're human. You will never achieve perfection. You're aiming at something impossible. Therefore, you are doomed to failure. The only outcome there is failure. There's no success possible with perfectionism. It's one of the worst bad habits and one of the hardest to get rid of. Now I'm happy that on my 30s, I will say it again, on my 30s, if I go back, is now you can see that I make a huge progress about this bad habit. But it required a decade of my life. Actively having this goal is, I become aware of this bad habit, but on top of that, I consider this a bad habit. That's key factor. And now I have the motivation to get rid of that. So if you're suffering from perfectionism, even if you don't use SuperMemo or you use it and it's creating a huge loads of pain and anxiety, please get in contact with me. If you don't want to share it in public, get in touch with me. In my webpage, you will see the contact me. You have my Twitter, Discord, or email if you prefer. And I will be delighted to speak with you. Because I will have killed, metaphorically speaking, I will have killed to get in touch with someone else with that specific knowledge. Because how many people they are like me that suffered to the school system, get bad habits, then they discovered free learning on their 20s, and they have been coping with that for more than a decade, and they finally succeeded. I know there's more people, but it's not that easy to find those people, I'm afraid. And I'm not counting now, fourth or fifth, I don't know. I really want to do it. I have a genuine motivation to do that. Actually, my intention since last year is to make a living out of this. Like accountability of some sort for introducing people to for learning. I just see that it's very recurring in SuperMemo community. And they give up too soon. But they give up the software, the incremental reading. But they keep their bad habits. And on top of that, that is even reinforced. The perfectionism gets even more strict. It leads to even worse outcomes in the future. It's like a rabbit hole. That is what I want, to get in touch with people, talk a lot, share a lot. Because the same as Wozniak that created 100, the same as Piotr Wozniak that created this article and talks about that, bad habits, I also want to develop this. And this is by exchanging emails, calls, meetings, or just chatting. So nothing more to it today. I know this video is not perfect, but that's not the point, right? It could be better, this video, absolutely. Could have been better the editing of this video, absolutely. Could be my pronunciation be better, more accurate, absolutely. But it's good enough. Perfectionism is a bad thing.